the signs, you could talk about signs from within. So when you are in a relationship, basically, how would you tell that your relationship is abusive? And if you come across a couple, you know, what could you see that could give you some indication that there might be possibly a situation of one form of abuse or the other? Well, there are the obvious signs, in my opinion, some that I have seen. So when it gets physical, it's pretty obvious. No, you see the signs of a person that's been hit, right? And you get some accessories that are blamed. The floor was slippery. The shower. I fell in the shower. That's when you're asked by your friends, like, what happened? You have a blue eye and a couple of things
I
on
hit
your.
my head on the wall, like I walked into a door,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You
and they're
start.
hiding that.
Yeah, yeah, or some compensatory makeup to hide the signs of. So that's physical, and then close friends and family who become whose attitude change. Generally, you would see a person become more and more introvert, like wouldn't open so much.
They stay away
um
from family members and from
they
friends
do they stay
suddenly.
they just they start cutting people off,
Yeah.
backing off from family and friends. In my experience, these are, when the before a tsunami hits, when the waves just go away first, like it's like the ocean is receding and everything is very, very calm before the tsunami hits. When it comes to friends and family, by the time people are starting to be cut off, it's not bad yet. It's just preparing the ground so that there's nowhere to go when you start being really abused. And generally, if you notice, um, this what we were in the context of we're in the context here of relationships, but I've seen this also in certain religious groups where someone joins a group and suddenly just starts cutting everyone else off.
Exactly. There's some churches where when you join, listen, abuse is in different forms, right? You join,
Yeah,
then suddenly they start telling you, oh, you cannot leave your hair open. You cannot wear jewelry. You cannot do this and that. It starts like that. They start manipulating your mind. Abuse is a form of manipulation that can become
yeah,
potentially dangerous if it's not stopped early enough. It can be
yeah,
emotional, physical, psychological. There are all kinds of violations, right? And a lot of times when you see some of these abusers, they come onto you slowly with ideas or things that will make you feel that this is the better way and that the other way is the wrong way. The other person is the bad person. You see these friends of
yeah,
yours, these your friends are not married. They're going to be jealous of you because you're married. And so because of that, I don't want you mingling with girls that are not married because they would bring discord in our family. And then suddenly they start putting that into your head slowly but surely. You start separating yourself from your friends who have been there for you, who are like sisters. And then when that guy starts beating you, you can't even open up to these friends anymore because you have cut off completely from them. So they
yeah.
start, it's a
I mean,
mind game.
I was even still in the part where you're observing someone else's behavior, so you're sort of watching from outside,
Yeah.
and hardly you pick up something before that stage. It's easily brushed off as, people have issues, we'll sort it out. The moment that there starts being that distance, that deliberately created distance between that person and their surrounding,
Mm-hmm.
in my experience, so far, because I mean, personally, I can't say I've been in an abusive relationship myself. Close people to me have been, and people not so close also. But the common and it was both emotional and physical. The common factor of and because I was watching from outside, is all of them eventually at some point, right before it got really nasty, just started cutting off from everyone else.
That's true.
And you want to respect someone's space, right?
Privacy,
So you'll be like, all right, okay, so you don't want me in your space, I won't be. You respect that distance, no problem. And then sometimes down the line, when you start noticing, you now hear of how far back it's been going, and you probably feel like, wow, I should have been there. I should have asked the right question.
Something. All right, so Doc, I just want us to
couldn't have known.
That's true. I want us to fast forward things a little bit, right? So we know most of us have seen the signs and symptoms. So what we're trying to make everybody understand here is that if you see certain things happening within your friend zone or family zone, like you have a sister who just got married, a brother, and they suddenly start cutting away from everybody and they start behaving a little funny. I think we lost Dr. Tada. I hope he comes back. You should already be alerted that something is going on, right? You should be alerted that maybe they are going through something, right? They might not be able to express themselves because maybe that person they are in a relationship with, or maybe that person they're married to is the breadwinner. The person's taking care of them. The person is providing for them, sending them to school and all whatnot. And because they're getting that benefit from that person, they cannot open up easily. I think I'm disappearing a little bit here. Oh my gosh, because I have all right, so you want to be able to pick up some of these signs and save your family member. So let's talk about this recent happening, right? This is what just happened to a sister, because this is really why we had to do this broadcast abruptly, because it's an issue that we need to talk about. It's something that needs to be said, okay? And everybody has been voicing their opinion, and people have been talking about Christianity is not a prison sentence. It's just like there's so many things about the religion that holds us and binds us together. So it's Sister Osinachi. A lot of you know her music. You may not know her, like you maybe not seen her picture physically, but you've probably heard her song in the past and it's blessed you. She has such a powerful voice. Oh God, this woman, every time I listen to her, even now that she's not alive, now that she's gone, to be with God, it's that same feeling. But what if somebody could do something earlier enough? She was in a church. And you would imagine that with somebody of such great talent and such spiritual prowess, she would be safe from this. So I want us to talk a little bit about the role of the church in some of these things, Doc. The church and Christians, because it's not just the church. Because yes, the church is part, but I wouldn't believe that her church didn't know that she had an abusive husband. I wouldn't want to believe that the church has not tried to help or to intervene, since the family is saying that the man did not respect them because he thought that there was no male figure in their family because they lost their dad in 2017. But is that enough? The church is a family. They are our family. So what is the role of the church in situations like this?
It's a I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to put it. It seems to me that the church, and when I say the church, it really, in practical terms, is going to boil that, because in spiritual terms, you could look at it as a whole. All those who confess Christ as Savior, but in pragmatic, down to the ground terms, it boils down to the denomination and the actual group and community you belong to.
Mm-hmm.
And if this community isn't, if this community defends the position of the church more than a person's life, it's a bit of a tricky situation. Now, from the point of view of, from her point of, from the point of view of what happened to her, I believe that there have been attempts to convince her to leave the relationship. Now, why she didn't leave, it's really hard to put your finger on, because again, what's going on in a person's mind, it's hard to get in there. You know, you can only assume a couple of things.
Yeah.
But then, what did the church do? I am not quite sure. Did the church do enough? I'm not quite sure. What is the role of the church? I would want to think that it is to avoid getting into this kind of situation where it got so bad that someone died. I think there is counseling for couples in most religious communities, in most Christian communities. Now, was the counseling associated to their couple effective? Well, for all the attempts that there were, this is an undesirable outcome, to say the least.
Terrible.
So I would think that the role, if you talk about the role of the church, would be to do everything to avoid this kind of a situation. But we cannot then go out and judge, and judge either the husband or her or the church.
We cannot judge your husband. Excuse me. Wait, what?
Hold on.
We're judging him hard. That man has to be incarcerated and he has to pay for what? This man has verbally threatened her life before. In front of her, in front of her family, in front of her church members, threatened that if she doesn't go back alive, she will go back dead. And he did it.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
When do you say no? Like a verbal threat can grow into a physical action.
Yes.
Because
that is true.
He has threatened before, but like they said, the family shared that they lost their dad and there was no physical male figure to stand up and defend this lady.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Let's get this comment here from Sylvester Gang. So that's my uncle. He says, beware. Most physical abuse is a response to psychological abuse. We need to advise people to know how to respond to psychological abuse. That is so true. Charlie Beton says women are their only savior when it comes to domestic violence. If you let a man put his hand on you, because you can leave anytime you choose to, okay? You can do that. Aretex says, I hope we are also encouraging men who are abused by their wives to speak up. That's why we've said abuse is gender. Okay, it's not gender discriminating. There are men who suffer physical abuse. Dr. Tadajo, you were sharing with me earlier on that you had this neighbor who was constantly being beaten by the wife.
Not just a smack on the jaw. I mean, this guy was sent to hospital a couple of times.
Oh my gosh! And what were the neighbors doing in this situation? Because sometimes we may be part of it without knowing, because we are not trying to help. Yes, people are afraid to intervene. But when is it time? You can call the authorities if you cannot help physically to solve the situation or to help or save this woman. Because sometimes they are crying for help, but nobody is coming. So in your neighbor situation, Dr. Tadajo,
nobody came.
Nobody went to save the man.
The idea was that he's a man and he needs to figure it out. When it got really bad, people would, try to, intervene and try and stop her from just finishing with the guy. But it was not the same kind of response you would have if a man was beating his wife.
Okay.
Right? Definitely
So,
not.
but
Nowhere
what do
near.
you think was the reason? Is this woman, was she the breadwinner in the family? What was happening that
I have absolutely no idea.
what was
Honestly,
it? Because
I don't know what the dynamics were. I don't know what the story was, but you know, if a person is psychologically um, pinned down, call it brainwashing, call it what you want, they need help. Someone else needs to intervene. And when I was talking about earlier, when I was talking about not judging anybody in this case, it's really from a point of view where you you don't know that if you were there, you could have done anything better. You can actually be convinced, but you absolutely do not know. Only God knows. However, when it comes to men, there is a lot of work in terms of education that has to be put in. Men need to be educated a lot. And why do I say that? You see, over the years, there has been a lot of work and effort put towards the, I'll say, emancipation of women, granting all the rights that they didn't have before. In the mind of women, in the general psyche of women, things have evolved much faster than they have adapted in the man's psyche. Men, for the most part, were trying to fight these changes rather than seeing how they can accompany it and adapt. Today, the very definition of what it means to be a man is not clear anymore. Once upon a time, it meant financial, providing financially, putting a roof over the head. More and more women have that. So what do you have? Like they say, what you got? And it's becoming hard for a man to affirm his or her position. Sometimes it becomes violent. So if nothing else works, I'm just going to impose myself by force. And sometimes it becomes some sort of psychological game. Be that as it may, there's still some education work to be done.
a lot of education, there's a lot of action on every one of us. Every one of us have a part, a role to play. Sometimes these
Yeah.
people cannot even talk because they are so abused to the extent that they cannot talk. There are other factors that make them not able to talk. The stigmatization. Let me take, for example, a young couple, a young girl, a young couple, they just got married, and then down the line, maybe a couple of months into marriage, things are becoming difficult. That it's no longer that boyfriend girlfriend relationship, it's no longer the fiance relationship. It's more now the reality. They have financial problems, they have misunderstandings, they start to have real situations. And then you know that this person is abusing you. Matter of fact, I have a friend who shared with me. She was able to open up with me, and we prayed a lot about her situation, and things are a lot better now because they had to take a stand. They hired a counselor to help them, but this lady was pregnant, and they had a fight with the husband, and the husband sent her out in the heart of the winter. The husband will constantly abuse her emotionally and psychologically because he knows that she's afraid of her religion, like because she constantly told him that, oh, because where I come from, we don't really like divorce, we don't really like this. So the guy took advantage of it, and he's like, well, if you want to go, you can go. Because in his mind, he's like, you're the one that's going to be shamed because you left your marriage. And because of that, she stayed. But at some point, there was a day that I called her. I don't know. I just felt strongly about this friend. I reached out to her. I called her. She was crying like heavily, like something had just gone on. She was crying heavily. And I said, sis, what's going on? I don't know. I just thought about you today. Like I was just praying through. There was a period I was just going through like some prayers. And then I decided to call 5 people that I've not talked to for a while. And I want to encourage you who is watching today, call 5 people around you, your friends, your neighbors that you haven't talked to for a while, you haven't heard about them, you haven't seen them on Facebook for a while, even though you know that they've been up out there, something terrible might be going on. You never know, and we don't want to hear the worst, right? So I reached out to this friend, and it so happened she was going through this terrible situation, and she opened up to me and she told me, sis, I've been having a very difficult marriage. I don't know how to talk about it. I'm ashamed to even open up about it because, you know, I'm afraid to be a divorcee right now. We just got married 6 months ago, you know, and I'm pregnant. And this man, he has abused me so much. Like the things he says to me, I look at myself and I ask myself, is this me? Like I've been reduced to dust. I've been reduced to nothing. And he has even told me to leave his house in the middle of winter, in the snow, not caring where I am going. That is how bad it was. But, you know, they had to hire a counselor. I told her, listen, talk to a member of your family. Don't die here. Talk to a member of your family, somebody that you trust, somebody that you think can stand for you. Don't stay there and lose your life. Just
Yeah,
do
very
it.
important.
It's the right thing to do. She did. The family intervened, and they had to put things straight to this man. Like, if something ever happens to our sister, you are going to jail. If you don't want her, bring her back to where you took her from. We've been joined by Solange Sang, who is a relationship expert. And strangely as it may sound, Solange started a series on her show, The Blissful Couples Corner, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, on abuse. So let's welcome Solange to the platform. Hi, Solange. How are you? Thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Gwendy. Thanks for having me. Hi, doctor.
Hi,
You
how
look
you doing?
beautiful, girl. You look amazing.
Good to
So,
see you.
Solange, we're jumping straight into the matter.
Sorry for
Yes,
being late.
we're jumping straight into the matter. You're just from your doctor's appointment. Thank you for making the time to share on this topic. And I want you all to contribute. Leave your comments. This is not something that we should stay quiet about. We should all be saying something. We should all be sharing so that we can learn, so that we can educate somebody, so we can encourage somebody who is in this situation to speak up and stand up for herself. Okay? And look for help. Cry out for help. Say no to domestic violence. Solange, you started this this series on abuse. It's not just domestic violence. A lot of times people just focus on that, but it's abuse in many different forms. When is it time to say no? When is it time to say enough is enough?
Listen, Gwendy, this topic is so heartbreaking, right? When I started this series, I was focusing on getting those signs that you should not even get into it.
The signs.
So looking at the signs from the dating process, because people don't just get up one day and start abusing you, right?
Yeah.
There is always a pattern. There are always signs, but we tend to ignore them. And when you ignore something or you become complacent with something, at the end of the day, it haunts you. The repercussion comes back to you somehow, some way. So the thing is, I understand these victims. It is difficult when you're already in that situation to leave. That's why I said that. There's a say that prevention is better than cure. If you know from the beginning, just avoid it. But now let's assume you're already there, like this amazing worshiper that just died.
I remember I was the one that announced it to you, and you were just
listen. When you told me I was in the kitchen cooking, like
you said no, it's not true.
I'm like, you're lying, because I don't even know.
How can it happen to this woman? How
can it happen?
Like in our minds.
How can it happen? You look at this lady, you know that this is a God-fearing person. This is somebody that speaks spirit to spirit with God. This is somebody that wins souls for Christ. And the question is, you're asking, like, did God not listen to her? What is it that was keeping her? What was the hope?
Could the church help her? What was her family doing? All these questions.
There is something, we asked all these questions, but at the end of the day, I was talking with some friends yesterday, and she was like, Solange, you're talking, not everybody has that psychological strength or not everybody is as strong as you are. I'm like, listen, it's not a matter of strong or
And
strength.
sometimes as Christians, Solange, without cutting you short, sometimes as Christians, we feel that we can pray out of everything.
No, we can pray, but guess what? Get to safety. God can answer your prayers at any time, anywhere. There is no place where you will go pray. Even in your car, God will answer your prayer. If you just step out. Sometimes we need to use wisdom. There is always a time to quit. If your life is at stake, God values you more than that man that you got married to. He values your life more than the children that you have. Individually, we are important to God.
Yes.
So God will not tell you that stay in a marriage and die because you got married. No, there is a time to quit, and that time is when you see that things are not changing. When you see that this man has beaten you once, twice, to an extent of, because I'm pretty sure that this is not the first time that this guy has done this to this lady to this extent. It just happened this time that he did it, and I'm sure the girl had gone to her, she was at an elastic limit point. She saw these things. So at the time when you see that this guy, it has become a pattern, it is something that he would do and come back and beg, because these abusers, like I was saying last time on my show,
We'll
they
buy
can
you flowers.
they can plead for forgiveness. You would think that tomorrow, you would think that heaven and earth belongs to you. And that is the same pattern. So when you see those patterns, the honeymoon.
What are some patterns? Just tell us some patterns that you have noticed.
This abuser cycle, right? It starts with it starts with the agitating process. Like the anger build up. They become angry. Anger builds up, it builds up, it builds up. Then the next phase that they burst out, there's that anger burst. They lash on you. They beat you, they do whatever thing they want to do. Then the next phase is the honeymoon phase, where they will plead for forgiveness and beg you and tell you
They'll
that
go to everybody, all of your family members.
Yes, they will cry, they can sleep on the floor for you to walk on them and say they will never do it again. But when you forgive them, it will not they will promise you that it will never happen again. But when you forgive them, it will not make another 2-3 weeks, 1 month. They will repeat the same cycle.
Even worse.
Even worse.
Sometimes it's progressive. It goes from better to worse.
For every time it increases. So if they slap you today, if they insult you today, hey, look at you, how ugly. The next time it will be a spank. The next time it will be a bloody beating. That is how it goes. So when you start seeing those patterns, my dear, it is time to quit. It is time to run to safety. If you don't want to divorce, let's say you are in a marriage, you love him so much, you don't want to divorce. Listen, my sister.
Go to your family or a friend.
Go somewhere. If you want to pray, go to safety, because when you die, this man is dead. Can God listen to that prayer? Does she have the mouth to pray? She doesn't have the mouth to pray anymore. So let's get to safety. Get someone to talk to. I know that people will be like, oh no, I don't want to leave my children. They shame. Society is not helping matters. We are not helping matters.
It's harder.
I know the other time I was talking with my friends yesterday about this thing. She was like, you don't understand these people. They are scared. They think about they don't have money to take care of these kids. They don't have this to do.
When you're dependent on a man for everything sometimes, or a woman for everything.
So I asked myself, do you really seriously value the opinions of people over your life? That is the question I'm asking.
Sis, but you know what, Solange? Like, the truth is that you say that there are so many things that we feel embarrassed, even as human beings, right? To just open up about. It's just like sometimes people are going through some terrible financial situations. They don't even have the means to pay for their rent or it's embarrassing sometimes. Like,
I understand.
You're just feeling like, oh my gosh, what if somebody should know in my community?
Exactly.
I'll be the laughing stock of the community.
Exactly.
But the truth is that if it has to do with your life, that somebody's abusing, because it's not just physical violence, right?
No.
We've talked about emotional abuse. There are things that somebody will say to you that will make you feel so little that you will cry and get so depressed. Depression kills.
And you can commit
Depression
suicide from
kills.
that.
The psychological trauma can even kill more than the physical violence.
My dear.
Dr. Tadaji, what's your opinion on that?
Oh
Like,
my God.
Well, I think, I mean, you said it. Let me start with the society is not helping, and we spoke earlier about the role of the church. It doesn't help that this so-called African way, people support, so that just tie your belt, you'll be okay. When you're married, it's even worse. Say the mariage, you go do out. You just have to hang in there. That's how it is. And it has been said so often to so many people that it's become the norm. And when you couple that to the church community telling you no, God doesn't like divorce, God doesn't like separation, they come with all sorts of things God does and does not like. Add that to everything that every maneuver that is already implemented on you to make sure you stay subjected, the majority doesn't even speak.
They don't.
Today we have this one very, how can I say, mediatized case, right?
it's so sad, huh? It's
And
really
this
sad.
is one case, and you're going to have, even among our friends and families, there are these few cases that people know of. It is those few that we know of out of the vast number
Out of
of
the
cases of
millions.
abuse that do exist.
We've had passion crimes, right? We've had a lot of passion crimes even within our community, like husband
Yeah.
killing wife, wife killing husband. I was listening to this guy, this very popular Nigerian guy called Pararan Mock News. I don't know if you guys know him. Pararan Mock News, he talked about a terrible situation that happened. This guy left his wife in Scotland or something, came back to Nigeria, went back to Nigeria, and then was just behaving funny. So the wife came back to Nigeria. He didn't go to pick her up at the airport. His brother went, picked her up, came back with her to the house. That night, the guy just appeared, came, said hello and everything. When they were sleeping, the guy went out, got fuel, came and then poured it on them, burnt them down. Burnt them down. Yeah, the guy survived. His brother survived, but his wife died. They said if we see the images of the wife, that she was burned all the way. Like all of these things, those are forms of abuse that have just been magnified, right? It has started somewhere and somebody has been building up, like you said, building things up inside of his mind, not being able to express himself, and then poured it out on somebody. This time he did not touch her physically, but he decided to end her life. We've seen that happen. We've seen people shoot themselves and shoot their wives, and we've seen men kill their wife and all of their kids. Like, we've seen these things. These are different forms of abuse, right? What can we do on an individual level when we see abusive situations? What should we do? What should be our response? How can we help in this situation?
When I was in university, there was a so-called friend of mine who was dating someone else, and it was really unhealthy. I mean, it was horrible, to say the truth. It was ugly. It was horrible. We as a group of friends knew both, and one day we decided, okay, we're going to stop this, because the girl was missing classes, failing, losing weight. I mean, it was verbal abuse. It was nasty. So we popped in one day, and she went and was living with the guy. And we said, listen, we're not having this anymore. We're taking her out of there. We came in, picked her stuff up, and he was like, hey, you don't do this. I was like, I don't remember a day where you went and married her for us to convene families to do something that we believe is going to save at least someone's university degree. Let's deal with our personal issues later when she has passed and we have a situation, we have lives to speak of, and then you can't come at me for being angry for doing this. We'll fix it later. For now, let's solve this. I mentioned this example because as communities, it is a shared responsibility. A person who is in this particular position doesn't necessarily have everything it takes to leave. Even when you like Solange says, there's a time when you just have to get up and go and pray from a safe position. But sometimes you in that position, you cannot take yourself out of there. A community, therefore, be it the church community, family communities, somebody has to man up, pun intended, and say, get out of there, be alive somewhere where we can see you.
Sometimes the guy might box you. He might box you and add on top of the woman,
Yes. Let's be angry at each other alive. We can fix the issues alive later. But get out of there first. And I think as the church community can do this come with this kind of action. A family can pose this kind of action when you get to a point where you understand that this person probably has been brainwashed, probably has been, belittled to a place where they don't believe that they can even step out. And when you pull them out, they will resist. They will resist. They will fight you, say, no, I'm not living that.
Exactly.
Somebody has to take charge, get you out of there, and then take the hit later. Let's all be alive and talk about it next year or the year after,
Let's talk about
God gives us that amount of life, but let's all be alive. Let's at least have a chance to talk about it.
Try. Don't just be quiet. Don't just be quiet. Like, for real, because I've lost 2 friends who went through terrible abusive relationships. I saw them, I talked to them, and finally they lose their lives. They lost their lives. One of them, actually, she died the same way that Sister Osinachi. Her husband beat her and hit her chest, and she had an internal bleeding. They rushed her to the hospital, but she lost her life. But the truth is, she was telling us all the time, when she would complain and she'd be crying, we'll say, "Where, mommy? Leave the man now. The man the maltreat you. The man they treat you this way," right? I'm speaking in broken English for those of you who understand. The man the maltreat you, should say, "Where I go do na how no, mommy? I go do na how now. The man they pay my school fees. Now the man they take care for my entire family. Now I don't pay my school fees since that day from 5. Can't reach now at the university. She's looking at the cars, the house. I go start now for say, mommy. I want come on now, so I don't really know me. So they drive motor, smarter outside they jump on top bike. At the end of the day, she died, and she did not. And I'm so sad, because that still haunts me so bad, because as friends, we knew what was going on, and it just happened that one day she took too much beating and she couldn't handle it. She had an internal bleeding and she lost her life. I've lost 2 friends like that. It hurts me personally, like it's very close to my heart, because I have seen it happen so many times. I have had neighbors that will fight. They will fight and break everything in their house. Like, sometimes you just see those things, and they have guns. They were both military people, and sometimes they pick up the gun, and the guy will pick up the gun and shoot in the air, and everybody will disappear. Like, even those who were standing in front of the house, like, oh God, now wait till they happen. Oh God, now wait till they happen. They will disappear, because the guy will come out and will say, "Any person come around, poof, in the air." And because they knew he was a military man, no military person, no police officer will be called or even try to come. Because when they come, they'll say, "Chef." When they come, they'll just say, "Oh, chef." Like, he's a boss in the military. And he does that to his wife every single day. The wife too is a military person, but a lower rank. They will fight and take out guns. And sometimes you want to help. But how do you help in this kind of situation? There are other ways to help, right? I believe that the family has a role to play, a very, very big role to play. In the case of our sister Osinachi, the family is saying that this man had been continuously abusive, and he did not respect anybody in the family, because they lost their dad, who was like the father figure, who was the father of their house. They didn't have a powerful male figure who was old enough to stand up for this woman. you see. And that the worst thing is that even when I saw, it was a chat that I saw between her sister and a journalist and somebody who was interviewing her, how this had been going on for long, how she will go and do events, the money goes directly into his account. That is an abuse. That's a form of abuse. You don't take over somebody's financial situation because you're the man of the house. You're not the one working. You have the right to own your own finances and keep it separate. It is your right and your duty. This thing that you see some men or some women, they take over like, okay, because I brought you from Africa, or I brought you from Mexico, or I brought you from Sudan, wherever you come from, your better half brought you from there. And then they bring you to America or to a better life, and they become abusive. Every time you talk, they will threaten you that I will send you back here. I will send you back. They will take your papers. I will send you back. I have seen that situation, a live situation where I was in an African store in Maryland, and this man was openly, verbally abusing his wife. Like, I don't even remember what she wanted to take something, and the man just started shouting at her and telling her how, oh, you cannot. Do you know how to work money? Do you know how much I spent to bring you over here? I have told you. If you continue like this, I will send you back. I will send you back to where you came from. You see, and the woman becomes scared because this person has her documents, right? This person has her documents. What do you guys do in a situation like this where you see something happening physically? You don't know these people. Even on the road, they have no respect for you. They abuse you. What would you do in such a situation? This is something that happens a lot. I don't know if you guys have had situations like that or ever experienced something like that. Like, what did you do? Like, you feel helpless sometimes.
Sometimes you are really helpless because if you see something like that happening, it's sad that you probably most of the time just walk away because you may even want to get involved, like to just try to be a good Samaritan and ask or whatever, or what's the problem, what's going on here, or try to like stand and defend the lady, like, oh no, be the man too, because women abuse men, and try to intervene. The other person may get angry, or they may just calm down. You don't know them, but when they get home, the thing may just get worse.
Deal with that person.
Exactly. So the thing is, one thing with this abuse thing is that it is a difficult and complex situation to get help, because the victims, to my opinion, they are the ones that have to make the choice. Because, like Doctor said, there is a lot of brainwashing. There is a lot of psychological manipulation here. Like, I can then low self-esteem. I can't do, just like you were saying, Mommy, if I commot these cars, the children, who will take off my bills? All those things.
Where will I start?
What will the society say? My child does not want divorce. So the thing is, if you advise, like you advise your friend, but she gave you all these excuses. That's why I say at the end of the day, it's a matter of choice. The victim has to come to the realization. The only thing we can do is to continue sensitizing people that you need to empower yourself. Because if your life as human beings, that is the way the flesh is. The human mind is so selfish and so wicked that if somebody is dependent on you, you become as if you are God to that person. You want to do you want to do anything that you want because, oh, I am the one giving you food. I am the one clothing you. I am the one doing this. But what we forget is that nobody is able to give you the breath of life. So at the end of the day, even the Bible says you have to use wisdom. Wisdom. To certain things, you cannot just sit there and say that no, because I really blame the church. So listen, these pastors that sit and say that, oh, endure. Oh, the Bible says you are
pray about it.
You cannot separate. Okay, if I'm telling
if you get divorced, you cannot be a member of our church.
Let me do something Me as a pastor, if I'm a pastor and I'm telling you that, sister, you can't divorce because you know it's against, let me give you a solution to solve that problem. Not that you sit in there and I'm encouraging you to stay there and you are going through this abuse. Then the man too is a minister in the church or whatever, or a born again Christian. I don't care. I don't even care whatever Christian they are. But at the end of the day, I always say that no matter what the society say, no matter what your friends will say, these things you are protecting. At the end, when you die, what happens? That is the question. So what can we do,
guys,
apart from sensitizing these people, now that we are growing at this generation, we should try to sensitize our kids, especially the young girls, give them that self-confidence, that self-esteem, make them know that their life should not depend on anybody, because that is even the first thing. That is the first thing. Because if you have that low esteem, it will happen. To anybody can brainwash you. Imagine you think that you are nobody, and somebody up there, you are looking up to somebody, right? What will happen? You will tend to believe whatever thing that person says. At the end of the day, you don't have a decision. Even God, why is it that God did not say that? No, I want all of us to be righteous. He gave us a choice, right? You have a choice to serve him or not to serve him. But he wants all of us.
That's true. Bisoro says, no meal, which kind of endurance? If husband slap you, the go na go, eh? Because after slap na blow. That's very funny. Yeah, when you give a hug, you want a handshake. When you give a handshake, they want a kiss. When you give a kiss, something else. It starts from somewhere. It starts with you stupid idiot, you useless woman, you useless man. You know, like we're saying, it's not just a case of women. It's not only women that are being psychologically, emotionally,
both
physically
men
abused,
and women,
right? We have situations where men are being abused. I have a case where I heard of this, you know, from the guy himself. He's planning to move out of his marriage completely. But this guy, he took care of his wife. I was sharing that with you, Doc.
Yeah.
He sent this woman to school while she was in Africa, in Cameroon, brought her to America, and then registered her for some IT program. And after that, helped her to get a job, you know, just really helping the woman. He too is into IT and all whatnot. But when COVID happened, he lost his job. I think I've shared that with you, Solange, even. He lost his job, and he has not been able to get another good job ever since. No matter how much he's trying, he's been trying to get a different job. Nothing is coming. The wife still has her job. And this guy is telling me how he has become the housemaid in the house.
Oh my God.
And that the way this woman talks to him, even in the midst of his friends, she'll just come, and if he's sitting down doing something, she'll be like, you did shit off for this, and I will go feed that picking them. You did do this, and I will go do this. Like that kind of emotional, somebody that loved you and took care of you, you have forgotten so soon. And you're treating this guy the way that you're treating him. You're just doing this. You're just wasting this. Do you know how much it costs? Like he's like, do you know how much I spent on you? How much I spent taking care of you into this woman that you are today? So how much I paid for your schooling back then, bringing you back here, paying for your papers, paying for a training here, doing this and that. How much I've been taking care of the bills. Now that is your turn to take care of the bills. This guy is now working for some warehouse company where they pay him $15 an hour.
You see how life was
making
$65
an hour. Now he's making $15 an hour. The wife has become
my God.
in the house. What do you advise this friend in such a situation? And when the friends come, she tells the friends, you guys, I don't like you guys. You guys are bad company to my husband. Stop coming here. So the friends themselves have started deserting the guy because they cannot stand the way she talks to them when they get there, right? Anibella, hey sis, how are you? Sis, please, can you join the broadcast? I like to know your feedback about this. I'm going to put up the the link. Please click on this link and join the broadcast. I was about to even send you the link, but I didn't know what time it was over there in the UK, and I didn't know if you'd be able to join. But join if you can. Annie Belangwa, she is a motivational coach. The Hot Gem, you are welcome. The Hot Gem, if you want to throw in some light on this, please, the link, I just posted the link right now. Join and add your voice. Like, I don't know if we can talk enough about this, but
I'm telling you,
every voice counts in this matter. Like, we have all kinds of situations. So I just told you guys about this situation of my friend. How can you help somebody like this? Like, what would you do in a situation like this when a man is being abused in his own house? You know, because suddenly
it's difficult, eh? It's difficult.
The thing is that,
Dr. Tadajo, you're a man.
Go ahead, doctor. You're a man. Let us hear you.
I was saying earlier that men are in a terrible situation these days, because for years now,
did we lose light?
Women have been putting...
Dr. Tadajo is in Douala, Cameroon. I thought we lost the light. The power went off.
I was just moving.
Okay.
Just trying to get to a place where I can power the phone. For years now, men have, while women were fighting to get the right to do and to have and to access a couple of things that would improve their way of life, improve their level of dignity, men spend too much time fighting these efforts and holding on to the old things that defined what it means to be a man. For so many years, the man was defined in a relationship with the woman as the person who's supposed to provide financially, provide some sense of security, make sure everyone eats, has a roof, you know, place for people to go to school and things like this. But these were the definition, right? You're the provider. It boiled down to logistics and finance. Unfortunately, while women started gaining these accesses, right, now they could pay for their own house, pay for their stuff. Women can pay for their stuff, right? Many can afford, and many even more can aspire to afford, and can decide that, no, I'm not going to be defined by this financial balance. Now I can also access. Unfortunately, these things have defined who is leading in a home, in a household.
Finances.
And because men have not evolved, I'll call it this way, because there hasn't been an equivalent journey upwards when women were accessing all these rights for men to also redefine what it means to be a man with respect to a woman. Unfortunately, the moment there is a financial shift in balance, the power also shifts, and the definition of who leads shifts also. We have a lot of work to do, and the education has to go hand in hand. Men and women, young girls and young boys, right? How to help someone in this particular situation is to start with getting that person's financial circumstances back to a place where there's a sense of dignity. And then,
so if there's no way to get the finances
it's
back,
going to be very difficult, because this is it appears to me that this woman feels that now that she has the upper financial hand, she has what the man used to have that gave him the right to be the man.
She feels that he has lost his power.
And it is unfortunate that it boils down to something like this, but it's also reality we need to acknowledge to have a chance to do better. Being a man is not more just you have money, you have the house where the woman is going to come and live and things like this. It is much more elaborate than that. You have to be able to be the leader of your family when you're broke. And that does not have to be a negotiation. And it is possible to achieve that, right? But it takes work. It takes having a certain conversation that too few men have today. And that's, I mean, we would dive into a whole other kind of worms, getting into that topic. But in this particular case, you would find that if such a man becomes aggressive, even physically, some people will come and justify that, no, but this woman also checked. What was she doing? There is no excuse. Again, like I said, while there's no absolute judgment outside of God's judgment, there still isn't an excuse to go out and become physical. However, this is events that put to the table things, hard topics, difficult conversations that we must have, unfortunately. And we are this transition generation where things change, where education in school and university is not the same as it used to be, where the job security is not the same as it used to be, where the definition of what it means to be a woman is not the same, what it means to be a man is not the same. And while it is changing, it's hard to redefine it because it is still transiting. So we, this generation, needs to have these tough discussions. So at least maybe our children have a chance, to get into some form where it makes sense, even if only for them.
Thank you so much, Doc, for throwing more light on this. So now I want us to talk about family, really, because at the end of the day, it boils down to family, right? If your family cannot stand for you in this situation, because I would say for all the cases that we've had, we are very, very sure that the family members knew. They probably knew about it. There are always chances, but there's always an excuse. Hi, that your heart, mommy. Now the man they do this for we. Hi, you want be divorcee? Hi, what would the church say? Hi, what would the family say? Every other person will mock you. All those things that we keep enduring and pushing. I like this comment here by B. So we already read that. She says that man or woman, cuckoo, they go before they carry your cups out. She has some serious terms here. Listen, guys, what should we do as family members? Because most of the times, I would say 9 times out of 10, we know that there is abuse going on. Sometimes we cannot talk. Sometimes we are afraid to even open our mouths. Sometimes, depending on the way that this particular sister or brother has been behaving with us, we don't want to get involved. We're like, me carry Kenja. What should we do to avoid the fatal situation? Joyce Awurutani, thank you so much for joining. I sent you the links. Please, if you can join, I would love it. I love your impact on this.
So for me,
what can we do as family members?
I think that it is high time that families wake up. Because, sorry, I'm driving, Gwen. That's why I'm not looking.
That's okay, Mama. Don't.
I think
you shouldn't be joining and being on the live video.
It's okay.
Anyway,
it's okay. I mean, I can't just miss it. I'm just happy that I'm not more in the hospital. So
yeah.
So I was saying that I think it's high time that families should wake up, because trust me, the only reason that families do this is out of greed.
Out of greed. What are they gaining from this man?
Especially. Especially when you come, I'm trying to talk about those, you remember, the families that they are dependent on the man
or the woman.
Yes, or the woman, because it's the other way around, like where the finances is coming from.
Yeah.
So I would say that number one, for those families that look at those say, oh mommy, you want to do her, oh now the man they provide for we, see a small brother them, how they will go school. It is high time that we start to value our children. We start to value our
together for 20 years, 30 years.
It is time that we start to put aside our personal benefits and think about the person that is there. And for those families, let's say this in this situation of our sister, if it was not, it's not about finances or whatever. Families, we need to understand that this child going through this thing is our blood. We need to stand up. It is high time that we forget this thing that, oh, when you are married to the man, you belong to the man and his family. You become the possession of the man. Who said that? Where is it written in the Bible that he become the man? The fact that he become what they say that the two shall become one, it doesn't mean that you should take another person's life. So family members, it is time, if your family, if you have a loved one going through something like that, let us stop this thing of clinging on cultural backgrounds, on cultural things in the name of marriage, and save these children. Look at this woman now. She has lost this girl. She has lost, I don't know, I'm sure her parents are alive. The parents
there is no reason why a family should leave their child to be going through abuse, whether it's emotional, physical, financial. No reason. Tell your child to leave. It's not because of a house, not because of property, not because of money. Be married. Your life is important. We need you. We love you. If that person doesn't value you, come back home.
Exactly. The same way they came to you to ask for this, or for you people to bless this marriage. The same way these two people came to you. If you realize that something like that is going on, you as parents in that family, you as the head in that family, you have the right to convene a meeting and ask and demand. And most of the time, if that is done, things can slow down. People can talk. You can even say, okay, you guys have to separate for a while. Let's talk things out. But we cannot just sit at the sidebar and we are saying, no, it's marriage. Endure what?
Endurance.
Will tell us that, oh, I went through that in your father's house.
Yes.
So it's okay. It's not okay.
Every woman goes through that.
No.
Don't come and spoil the name of our family.
Know, but families, let's start helping. And friends too. Let's stop gossiping about the situations and try to see
how. People are funny because they act as if they are so perfect. Facebook, social media doesn't help. What people do on Facebook and social media is make believe. Make believe. There's no perfect marriage. There's no perfect relationship. There's no perfect home.
There is no one perfect marriage. I don't care what people are saying. No one marriage is perfect. They have their problems.
There are quarrels.
They have their problems.
Because they take pictures and stand on Facebook. You're like, oh my gosh, this person, this sister, perfect home.
And that is the reason why people don't want to talk about abuse, because they say, oh no, the way people are seeing me on social media. You go on, you are posting things, you are
showing people that you are living in a perfect marriage. Now you are ashamed to.
Now you are ashamed.
Afraid.
Why should we do that to ourselves? So let family has a big role. Family and church. Those two people, because when you run to your family rejects you. That's already another depression. Then when you go to church, just say space. That's number 2.
Oh, in this church, you don't divorce. If you become divorced, you cannot be a member. All those stupid things that they say.
So family should really step up. Like, forget about just think that this is your child now. You, mommy, you carry this child in your womb for how many months? You suffer to raise this child. Don't sit like that and just watch. That is marriage is your Bible not just wait for so instant marriage.
No, don't let your life, don't lose your life because of a bad marriage, because of an abusive marriage. Abuse is in many forms. The man you can be staying in that house and that man ignores you. He acts as if you're not there. He goes out and he has other relationships with other women when you're sitting there. That is abuse. He does not respect you. Get out of that house.
And the man is insulting your family to add to that.
Your life is important. It doesn't matter if somebody doesn't give you respect. That is emotional abuse and psychological abuse. You cannot say anything. You're like a stranger in your own house. That is abuse. It's time for you to walk.
And the thing will always start with little comments, little emotional, little verbal abuse. Then before you know it.
I want us to talk about something, Doc, and I'm directing this to you because you're a man, and most of the times it's the man that should handle some of these situations. There are certain forms of abuse that are generated by in-laws, you people's family members. So like the man's family, they feel entitled sometimes to inflict abuse on the spouse of the man. Okay, let's say in a case where maybe the woman came from a poor background, in a case where maybe the woman is unable to have kids, in the case where there are all these reasons, all these things, like she doesn't have a job, she's just at home, and they keep saying to her, she's only here for my brother's money, she's only here for this, and don't say anything, you are just a gold digger or whatnot. You as the man, what is your role? Take it in a general sense, and I'm not directing it to you as you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Not have that situation, but a lot of times, and I'm not sure about other people, but in our African societies, the man's family always feels entitled. What do you have to say about that? How would you defend your spouse? Like, what is your role as the man in order to stop your family from inflicting abuse on your spouse?
Well, again, it boils down to what I was saying earlier. What does it mean to be a man? You know, first vis-a-vis a woman whom you say you want to get married to, and then one day you marry her, and then one day you're leading that family. Your responsibility by law, and I'm not saying it because of the African society or lovey-dovey, at least by the I'm Cameroonian, so I got married and I abide when it comes to marriage, Cameroonian law, because that's the jurisdiction of my marriage certificate. By law, my job is to protect my wife. The law didn't say anything about my wife's in-laws. However,
Exactly.
I come from a family. So therefore, I am the shield. I take the hit. Nobody else.
Right. That's right.
Right? My position is that a man needs to make sure that his household is comfortable, because should God bless this family with children, and should God give this man a son, his wife will be the mother-in-law one day, if
Exactly.
it's a house full of
That's
blessings. And this man now, what kind of example he's going to give to his son, right? What kind of treatment will he train his daughters to tolerate coming from another man's family?
Not
right?
cutting you short, Doc. I just wanted to throw something in there. Like, sometimes you see some of these men being abusive towards their wives, yet they have daughters that they protect so much. They protect their daughters so much, yet they're abusive to their wife.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not consistent, right? It's it like we used to say in school, it cannot go, it doesn't fit.
It cannot go.
That one I'm over action.
That one I want minus 2. It
I'm
cannot
over
go.
action that. As I hear that's a slang in Cameroon right now. That one I'm over action.
And again, like you rightly said just now, it filters down into some of the things that trigger one form of abuse or the other. I believe a man's job is, he's supposed to be that one who's not going to turn around and complain like, it's difficult. You shield your family. And if it means you're going to become an excellent politician and a fantastic diplomat to manage this whole drama such that nobody even knows what's going on, and you do what you have to do for your family to be protected. And of course, you find a way to keep the relationship going with your own family such that, things work. People can have a party and not pull people's weaves off their head, and it's fine, So yeah, that's my belief. I think that's the role a man has to play in that particular situation.
Alrighty, Solange, what do you have to say? I know that you're the wife, but have you ever experienced or heard of a situation where a woman's in-laws are inflicting abuse upon her and the husband is silent or not really taking action? You are a relationship expert, so I believe that you've probably heard about several of such cases.
Right, Gwen. I've actually had a I've actually had a couple of clients talk about that their in-laws visit and throw abuse on them, and the husband is just mute, like he
Not
can
say anything.
not saying anything. And in that instance, like they said, they felt like they were not being protected. They felt like they were strangers. They felt so belittled in their own home. And some of them in anger bursted out, but some of them, because of their cultural principles, the respect that they
And
have,
religious beliefs,
yeah, they just like bottle up.
the woman should
And,
not talk. They swallow
yeah,
it.
but my thing is, in this situation, like Doc just said, he just said it all, right? You as the man, you are supposed to be the shield. And I will go as far as saying that, turn it the other way around. When it comes to marriage, you as a woman, you are the shield to your man, to you in your family. And you as a man, you are the shield to your wife in your own family. Why do I say that? Mother-in-laws can it's true that we have most of the time is the man's side of the family that's always a problem. But you can also have
The man
situations,
side of the family, that's always a problem, dog.
yeah, but you can also have situations that the woman's side is a problem. But the thing is that we women, we know how to handle our family members as opposed to the men. The men tend, especially their mothers, they tend to be like, how do I call it, mama's boys, and they never grow up. So in that situation, I will say that men, my advice to men is you always have to stand, just like Doc said, to protect your wife. Take the heat. Take the heat, because sometimes they may be doing that out of ignorance. They may be doing that thinking that they have some sort of right, like you're saying. But if you don't stand up at that time, you are just telling them that, hey, I have given you the right to do whatever you want to do to my wife at any time. And trust me, you are bringing war in that house, whether you like it or not. Because at one point, you'll find yourself wanting, there will be a point that they will ask you, you need to choose between this and that. And you don't want to get to that level because everybody have a cup that you get full one day. Okay, so I go with what doctor has said, and I want to add the side that be it a man or a woman, you are a shield to your family, to your husband. You are a shield to your wife. Protect your wife from your family. Protect your husband from your family. It is very important. I have had that experience. My husband is very good at that. Like when John was talking about you can decide to be the highest politician, the highest diplomat, or whatever, I was laughing. Because sometimes I call my husband that you've been a politician. Because the way he will handle situations sometimes, you will see that he knows that this thing that has been done is wrong. But the way he will put it, you will just know that, oh, he's trying to save the situation, and you just have to understand with it. So we have to be shields to our partners, period, to avoid problems.
Yeah, if I can add something real quick to that, it has to start with an environment in the household where your wife feels like she can tell you about some of these things, because some of it comes in hidden packages, some sneaky ways that you are not asking because you actually are not aware. And if you haven't created an environment where you have a chance to even know what's going on before you can intervene, it becomes very dangerous. Because again, sometimes women just take it, they take it. They say, I won't speak. It's going to be all right. And it then piles up. One day it just blows up. And in proportion that now it's just too late to do anything about it.
Right.
So yeah, there has to be that environment where they feel like they can tell you that, okay, so this is what happened. This is what happened. And without fear that, you're going to lash at her instead and start, being judgmental right there and then. So yeah, you need to be able to be open so that one can tell you when things go wrong.
That goes to communication, very important. You need to be able to have an environment that you both are free to communicate to each other. Yeah.
And in the sense Gwen was saying, earlier about, and also Solange, you know, about the role family plays. I'm trying to project myself a bit in the future. I have a daughter, and
Thank you, my
I'm
dear.
thinking
Thank
I'm
you.
thinking about what am I doing today that in, say, for example, 15, 20
Say no
years,
to
whenever
abuse.
she gets married, she will not hesitate, whatever the case, to come to me and say, Dad, you done bad.
This
You
is what
don't
I'm
back.
going through at home.
Yes.
Because
Speak up.
that needs to
Speak up.
happen.
It needs
Yes.
to
That
happen,
needs
my
to
dear.
happen.
It
And
needs to
I'm not
happen.
going to point fingers at her and be like, oh no, you should have done it. I'll do my part and do everything I can to make sure that she feels comfortable, she feels safe enough that even though we might have done everything from traditional wedding point of view,
Yeah.
that if it gets to some kind of limit, she'll be like, you know what? I come from somewhere.
Exactly.
So yes, we're talking about abuse, all forms of abuse, and we are calling on every one of us to denounce abuse. There is no form of abuse that should be accepted, whether it is physical, emotional, from your family, from your in-laws, from your friends. You know, if you are in a group of friends that are toxic, that would never encourage you to go ahead with your projects, with your plans, with your business ideas, just know that you are in the wrong relationship. Okay? If you have those kind of friends that always find a fault in everything that you do, they never see anything good in you. They never advise. They never bring in anything to the table. All they see is pointing fingers and accusing fingers and just making you feel bad. Know that you're in the wrong relationship.
That's
Okay?
right.
Those are the wrong group of friends you should be in. If you are in a church where all they do is condemn and tell you, hey, endure, endure. If you are divorced, you cannot be part of this church. If you are not in this class of society, if you leave this man is one of the highest what they call it,
The
so
bishop.
the
The man
person
is the
that
highest the
so
bishop.
seed in church, right? He's the highest contributor to the church projects and all whatnot. You cannot,
It's
please
an
just
elder.
endure, my sister. We will pray, and God will help us. God will save us. Listen, your life could be at stake. There is a time to say enough is enough. There is a
Mhm.
time to say no. One time, two times, three times, you're still sitting there waiting because you want the cars, you want to keep driving the Lamborghini, you want to keep living in that beautiful mansion, you want to keep being called Mrs., right? Yes, there are women that have walked away even from their own businesses that they created with their husbands, but because the husband became abusive and they saw that this can no longer work for them, they walked away. It's so hard to do it. There's this
But
lady
you
that
can do it.
there's this lady that I watch online, Dr. Sonia Stribling or something like that. She's an ex-military person. I watched a little clip of one of her videos. Commendable. Like, she walked away from her marriage, an abusive marriage, and she walked away from her business that she had been building. But today she is a multi-millionaire. She is a coach to millions. Like, she does amazing. You just need to find the courage to leave and then just refocus. Refocus. Look for that power inside of you. It's right there. And try your best. Try your best. Start looking inside of you. There's some skills inside of you. There's some experience inside of you. There is knowledge inside of you. There are things inside of you that you can work on. Look at the relationships that you have. There's surely a friend somewhere that you can count on, that you can trust to open up to. There is surely maybe a relative. There is surely somebody that you've heard about, or a relationship coach that you've seen online you can trust. There is surely a way out. There is surely an organization that helps with battered women. There is surely an organization that will help you, the man, to put you back on track, maybe even give you a job to start from there and start growing. Don't be ashamed of what can happen. Just find the right person to confide in. Just find the right person to talk to, but don't be silent. Don't lose your life over an abusive relationship. So as we're concluding right now, Solange is a relationship expert, she's a relationship coach. Dr. Tadajo Ifriki, he's a nanosatellite specialist. What are your what are your last words? Like, what would you want to say as we wrap up on this very crucial topic, which is taking away some of the brightest minds that we have on earth today, some of the best entrepreneurs, some of the best teachers, some of the most beautiful voices, like the young lady. She's young. She's only 40 something years old. Sister Osinachi Nwachukwu. She sang the song Ekwueme. For those of you who are gospel lovers, gospel music lovers, you've probably heard about her music. Ekwueme, Ekwueme. You've probably heard it. That voice, we would never hear it again. Physically, she's gone because she was continuously abused until her death. What do you guys have to say as we conclude on this very crucial topic?
Well, for me, what I want to say, I totally understand what these victims are going through. I feel their pain. I may not be in that shoes. Like when I shared a story last time on my show that dating back in the days, I had somebody like that. I had a boyfriend like that. But I quickly realized that and made a decision that I would never end up with that person. Yes. It was not easy when we separated. It wasn't easy. It was like as if I was being stalked. Okay. But what I want to say is that every man or woman, look into yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, I am beautifully and wonderfully made. I was made by God. God created me. Nobody is my God on earth. Look within you and find
your life.
Find that inner strength. I know it is hard. When you're already in that situation, it is very difficult to come out. That is why I advise, don't even get there. In your dating process, try to identify things like that and avoid commitment in such relationships. Now, let's go to the fact that you're already married.
Yes. What if you missed all those points? You were carried away by the love.
Yes, maybe you were carried away or something.
Now you realize you're in an abusive relationship.
Yes, please. Find yourself, find that inner strength, no matter how difficult it is. Put in your mind that no one is your God. No one created, no one is worth taking your life. Life is the only thing that we have. I mean, everybody is scared to die.
That is true.
Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. That's ironical, right? But that's to tell you how we value life. There is nothing.
Value your
society,
life.
What people will say, what the church says, I don't care what your family says. Please look into yourself. If it is that you love these children, you don't want to live, ask yourself, if I die, who will take care of
them? For your children. Yes, you don't want to.
So look for the things that will give you that strength. Like Gwen said, look for one person, confide in the person. The thing is that at the end of the day, no matter
there's surely somebody out there. There's surely an organization out there.
You may not want to listen. Okay. You may be watching Osinachi dead now, and you are in that situation.
It's a hard situation. It's a hard pill to swallow when you see talent just going because of things like this.
Get your inner strength, please. I mean, I don't know how we can say this and try to step away. We are not saying divorce if you don't want to divorce. Step away to safety.
And find a way to solve that situation. Hire a coach, hire a psychological person like a trainer or something.
Or want to talk to, get a therapist, get a marriage counselor,
somebody.
Get some help. We have organizations. But at the end of the day, it is your decision. We have a choice because therapists can talk to you, they can advise, they can do anything. Like there are situations that they will come and bundle you out of the house, but you will take your own 2 legs and go back there. At the end of the day,
there are people who have been saved from situations like that and they have gone back. So
yes,
in conclusion, what we're saying is save yourself, make that decision, make the choice,
save yourself,
to leave.
Yes,
so that you can leave, right? Leave so that
you can leave. Yes.
Yeah.
What are some conclusive words that you can leave with us? Yes, it's so
Well,
heartbreaking, Elvin, Kelly.
it's in line with what Solange is saying. What I would say in conclusion is that whatever the situation, I mean, even the abuser can change because people change. However, let's have a chance for this person to change while we are alive, no?
Exactly.
If you don't want to lose
You're waiting for the guy
marriage,
to change.
if you don't want to lose your marriage, you know, if you are afraid of losing goods, if you're afraid of losing the roof over your head or the financial stability and everything else that you got accustomed to, a homeless person has a chance to not be homeless anymore.
That's
a
right.
dead person is pretty much dead. It's not much to do.
You're better alive than dead.
So,
there's hope when you're alive. But when
as
you're
long
dead,
as
it's over.
as long as you're around, something can be done.
Yes.
Once you're dead, that's it.
You're absolutely right.
Get to safety, like Solange said. And then let's get the chance even to help the person abusing you, because most of the time, actually, they just need some help.
Exactly.
Because anybody can get better. Anybody can get better. But even after your death, this person can get better. It's probably preferable that they get better while you're alive. So get to safety first. Then we'll manage the rest.
Safety first. Don't stay there waiting for somebody to change. I know a lot of times you see, sometimes some women are carried away by the physical appearance. Like, oh my gosh, this person is so handsome, or he's so rich. He has all this money, this mansion, these cars and everything. You want to live that life. But you know every single day that when you go to bed, you cry. Sometimes you sleep on the couch. There is no relationship. There's no marriage, but you're staying in that relationship because of the community, because you're afraid of what people will say. Oh, she's a divorcee. This woman, she didn't even stay for 1 year in her marriage. Now she's on the road. Like,
I know.
Oh, look at that. Like, oh, look at this one. Where is that car that she was driving, that she was bragging about? Like, where is it? Look at her now. She has left from a mansion. She's living in this tiny little room here.
No, but don't get it twisted in the sense that
equating your life.
If you feel that it is, because sometimes the vocabulary can be misleading. You're married, there's physical abuse to life-threatening extents. When they say leave, what is being said is not that divorce or quit. It's extract yourself from the life-threatening situation.
Start complaining.
Get out of there first.
You guys advise me to
so
divorce.
That you have because people can fix their situation. People can get better, but get out of the life-threatening situation
first.
Is the thing. Exactly. That you may get a chance to fix your marriage. Because if you're dead, that's it.
Leave to live.
That's the thing. It's not that we are saying divorce. No, we are saying that try to solve the problem, but go to safety first.
Yes.
We can negotiate.
Yeah. All right. So my gosh, we just couldn't do without talking about this topic, and it's something that we face every single day. It's something, abuse is something that's recurring in our community. Abusive relationships have led to people losing their lives, have led to people killing one another. Abusive relationships have led to extreme depression and all those things. It just takes one nasty word to grow into anything. And I know that sometimes as a young person, as a business owner, you're afraid to start from zero, to start from scratch. And you're like, oh my gosh, where do I start from? I have a joint business with this person. We have joint resources, joint finances. Heck, I was talking to, there's this lady in one of our coaching programs, one of our mentorship programs that I am part of. And she talked about the fact that the man that she was with, she was married to this man for over 10 years. When things got sour because of extreme abuse, she decided to leave. Guess what? She left that night and went to spend the night at a hotel. But the next morning when she tried to use her cards, all of her cards were blocked. And she was like, what is going on? All of her cards were blocked because this person had the power. He went ahead and told himself, If you leave me, you will suffer. I will make you suffer so much that you will come back to me. That is still another level of abuse. So somebody beats you, physically abuses you, and then on top of that, he threatens you again that if you dare leave or say anything to anybody, I will cut off the finances, even
That
though
is
the
the power that
finances
the person has over you.
is owned by you both. You have a joint business, right? You have the same right to the finances of that person. In countries like America, where there's good law system, you have the same right to that person's finance. He should not tell you that's my money. It's our money if we're married. You cannot tell me that that is your money. It's our money together. So know your rights. I believe that you just have to know your rights. But this lady, the man took everything from her. And you know what she told herself? The man said, listen, if you want me to open the cards, unblock the cards, come back home. Just come back home. Get your, and then he used the words, get your, back to this house. Like on top of the abusive situation she's been through, the man is still abusing and threatening her to come back home. Well, if you want to have the money, if you want to have access to those cards, then get your back home. You guys can already imagine what I'm saying, right? I don't have to call the words, but this is it. It just continues. And you will see somebody like that. She cannot have the car because this man bought the car for you. It's in his name, even though he bought it for you. The next thing is like, give me the car keys. Okay? Because he knows that when you don't have a car, you will struggle a lot and you'll be like, oh my gosh, maybe I should just stay in this relationship. My sister, my brother, there is no point. There is no form of abuse that you should accept. There are certain things that start lining up. When they start lining up, it's forming a line. Okay? It's forming a line. The Bible says he lays out the lines for us in pleasant places. But the truth is that when the wrong lines are laid, it's going to a terrible place. It's going to a place of doom. When it starts laying one by one, don't stay. Figure out somebody who can help you. Talk to somebody. It might bring you shame for a while, but it will save your life. It will save your life. Just find a safe place. There are organizations everywhere. Just search online on Google. Today, we have organizations that help women, that help men who have been in abusive relationships. They've seen those kind of situations over and over. Somebody threaten your life, even out of an argument by mistake. He say, I will do this to you. I will kill you. I will shoot you. Start thinking twice. It starts from threatening you to doing it right. Because it starts from there. They can say that because some of those women, if you wake them up from their grave today, they will tell you this person threatened me once or twice or three times. Okay, but they stayed there because we're like, okay, this person has come and said, I'm sorry, and they've apologized. And then, but you already know in the back of your mind, this person has said this to you one time. They said this to you 2 times, but maybe it was just in the midst of the heat of argument.
And they're always defending. They're always looking for excuses. No, he was just angry. Oh no, she was just angry. He's gonna get over it.
So find the strength to know when time is enough. When enough is enough. Know when to leave. Okay.
Somebody said that. Sorry, I was remembering someone said in any situation, 2 things are always true. It can always get better.
It
That's
can get
one,
worse.
and it can always get worse. They both are always true at the same time.
That's true.
And if you want things to get better, you should find a way for it not to get worse. And if you really want to be in a better place, be in a better relationship with your spouse, partner, business partner, community, sometimes have the courage. There you go. Have the courage to do what it takes for things to actually get better. Give yourself a chance to be around to make things better.
Exactly.
Be there. So even if you have to leave and suffer for a bit, take care of yourself first. If you have to leave and suffer a little bit and figure things out, call a family member. Don't be quiet, because a lot of times it's the silence that kills them, because they were afraid to say it to somebody. They were afraid to open up. They were afraid to talk about it, and they kept swallowing it. And because that person knows that you don't have somebody to defend you, there's nobody who can talk, they keep doing it and they keep insisting. And the more they do it one more time, the next time they go further, it just keeps growing and growing until it becomes a terrible situation that you cannot save. So just know when it's time to leave. Know when it's time to leave. Muster the courage, no matter the difficulties you would face. There are always organizations that can help you, get you a job somewhere, get you to safety somewhere, and they can take a hotel for you. There are shelters that are for domestic violence victims. I just don't know about situations in Africa if we have things like that, but in developed countries there are shelters for abused spouses, relationships, for children who've been abused and stuff like that. There is provision for that. But even if you have to lose your business in order to save your life, as long as you're alive, you can still figure out a way to get back on your feet. So please take care of yourselves, take care of your life, and take care of those children or the family members that you have been blessed to have. Leave an abusive relationship so that you can leave. All right. I think that that's where we're going to draw the curtain on today's edition. Remember, we're inspired by something that happened recently to one of the most powerful gospel music voices, I would say, in the world. She has one of the most powerful voice. I don't think anybody will be left the same if you heard this woman's voice. She suffered domestic violence complications and finally lost her life yesterday. And because of that, we felt that it was important to come out and talk about it. We go through all kinds of abuse, but there is no form of abuse that should be accepted. It is wrong and it should stop. Something has to be done. If you don't have the strength to leave, talk to somebody who can help you. Talk to an organization that can come in and help you. But please, don't die in silence. Don't suffer in silence. You have
No.
So choose your life. Leave to live. All right. So I think that that's where we're going to end today, unless you guys have something else that you want to add.
No, I mean, we can never
No,
exhaust this topic.
I think it's basically said.
It can never be exhausted.
More
So
to talk about. Exactly.
we just have to keep sensitizing, keep talking,
keep pushing.
Yeah, keep pushing.
And say something. If you see something, say something. If you see a family member, a friend that's going through something, they look funny in the morning, they're staying away from people, there's something wrong. They're probably going through an abusive relationship. They just don't have the courage to talk about it. You could save a life just by opening up. If you can't talk, call an organization, call the social services, call 911, save your family member, save your friend, you don't need to give your name, but just say that, oh, I heard this neighbor's fighting, or I heard this person fighting, and stuff like that. If you see something that's not okay, say something.
Family, please protect your loved
life. And if you're a family member who is abusing your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, you have to be accountable. Stop it. Stop it. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time today. I did not expect that we'll be talking for 2 hours. We'll be talking for 2 hours today. This topic is just so exhaustive. It has all kinds of branches and all and that. But we've touched on the physical, the personal side. What is your role as a person? What can you do? What are some signs that you should look